Hey guys, Marzinkin here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're going to be doing the team building guide for the STR Videll EZA that is coming out on Global very soon. 3 Extreme Z battles all coming out on Global at the same time. I have the guides up for the Namek Saga LRs as well. Of course, they are coming to JP at the same time. But JP, of course, already has the Videll EZA as it came with part of the Roshi celebration when that first released on the Japanese version. But we are getting a bunch of his content all in one go, as well as the banner coming out at the same time. So we are getting this EZA. Unfortunately, unlike the other two, it is a TUR, like a Dokkan Fest EZA. So it is 30 stages. One of those good old long spanning ones. So you will get 30 stones. There's a couple of missions as well, so it should be 34 stones in total. And this one we don't have to worry about LRs, so we don't have to worry about having the legendary power link active. But the main thing is the weakness category specifically for this event, and the one for Videll is going to be Earthlings. So this is a bit of a weird one because this category obviously is not the greatest. It's also not the biggest. There's a few specific characters on here that are going to be very good. But obviously, you know, it's not Earthbred fighters, so we don't have Gohans, Gokus, any of that. The category is quite limited. And unlike the LR EZAs, we do also have the restriction of certain characters being unable to do any damage. And in this particular event, it's all extreme characters other than extreme AGL. So once you get past, I think it's like stage 15, all extreme characters, unless they are AGL, will be doing 80% less damage. Which means realistically, unless they're there on the team to be a really strong defensive unit, there is really no point in bringing extreme units on this particular team build. So as always with my team building guides, we will be going through the top picks and honorable mentions for who to put on the team in order to make your life as easy as possible getting through these 30 stages. If there are any units you think I missed out or that I should have talked more about as to why they would be good on the team, do obviously let me know down below in the comment section. And if you find the guide useful at all, do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are getting very close to hitting 29k subs here on the channel. So let's go ahead and jump straight in. So as you can see from the top of the list here, the only like full leader that Earthlings actually has for their actual category is the LR Krillin. Prime Battle Krillin has Earthlings 4 key and HP attack and defense 160%. So that is a pretty decent leader skill. Obviously he is type disadvantage to Videll, which is a bit annoying, but he's a good unit. He's got built-in dodge. He can get some extra attacks off. Like, he can do relatively well. But he is probably going to be the go-to leader for a lot of people if you don't have as many varying options when it comes to some of the other category leads. Because, of course, the tab that I brought up first there by accident is we do, of course, have the release of the new Master Roshi. His banner comes out at the same time as all of these EZAs. So if you are somebody who was going to summon on his banner, then obviously his banner, if you do pull him, he leads Peppy Gals 200%, and a large majority of those characters are Earthlings characters. Then he also leads Turtle School or Dragon Ball Saga, and then gives the extra 30% to Bond of Master and Disciple or Kamehameha. So Turtle School and Dragon Ball Saga and Peppy Gals do have a lot of Earthlings characters on the team. So if you do pull this guy, he probably would be one of the go-to leaders in order to use for this event. But I mean, by the time this guide goes out, I think the summon or skip video should already be up for the Roshi banner. And of course, I'll go into more detail there in that video. Shout out to you if you've watched it already, by the time you're watching this one. But I probably wouldn't recommend summoning for him. So Krillin is likely going to be one of your main go-to leaders. We also have the LR Bulmer. We talked about her, of course, in the Krillin and Gohan EZA guide because she leads Dragon Ball Seekers, but she also leads Dragon Ball Saga. So obviously those two categories do have a ton of Earthlings on them as well. She leads them for 4 key and 150% to stats, which is more than good enough for a TUR EZA. They're not like super difficult, so 150% leader skill is perfectly fine. She gives a ton of support to the team, can get the additional super if you get enough orbs, so she can absolutely be a great unit to use for this event. Like the support, the damage, you're not going to get the active skill because you don't really ever get to turn 7 in an EZA, but she's going to be very, very good on the team and is a viable choice for a leader. Of course, we do have the, the Videll herself, right? You're in the process of doing her EZA, but she leads Defenders of Justice or Peppy Gals. Obviously, pre-EZA, her leader skill is 4 key and 170%, but that's perfectly fine. Peppy Gals, there's a ton of Earthlings characters. Defenders of Justice, I'm not sure if there's that many, because obviously Gohan's won't be on there. But Peppy Gals would be perfectly fine, and then you can EZA her like up the steps as you go to make her a little bit better, especially when I think one of the first steps for the EZA is that the leader skill gets updated. So you could use Videll as the leader if you are struggling to find another leader for the team. Another option, of course, is the Yamcha. The Saiyan Saga, he also leads Earthbred Fighters, so of course, all Earthlings basically are on Earthbred Fighters, and he gives the extra 30% to Earthlings as well, so he will give most Earthlings units a full 200% leader skill. So this guy actually might be the best leader, because again, like, I don't think many people are potentially going to pull for Roshi, so Yamcha is probably one of the best leaders to use. And of course, he can get a buff, he can get his intro, can use his active skill, all based around Earthbred Fighters allies, which of course, as we said, Earthlings all are. So in retrospect, Yamcha probably is the best option for the leader, will be strong on the team. So yeah, I would say he's probably a go-to choice to be the leader for the team for this EZA. Then we have the AGL TN and Chaozu, the World Tournament LR, got their EZA a few World Tournaments ago. These guys are pretty strong, obviously, in this particular event. You're going to be able to have the Bond of Friendship allies, so they can get built-in crit chance and some extra key. They've got type advantage. Their links are not necessarily the best when thinking about some of the other units that might be on the team, but with some of the extra key they get from their passive and everything, these guys should definitely be very, very good in the event as well. Then we have the INT Videll. So obviously you can only use her if you're not using the STR one. If you've got one of the other leaders like Yamcha, this one can be very good because obviously she can hit relatively hard. She gets buffs per Peppy Gal's ally on the team, so the more of those you bring, the better she is. But she does recover 20% of the damage that she deals as HP. So any characters that have abilities that can heal you are useful in EZAs because obviously you can't use items. So Videll definitely can be good, but of course you do want the team weighted a little bit more towards Peppy Gal's characters in order for her to get the higher stats. Otherwise, potentially better choosing somebody else if you don't have many other Peppy Gal's units on the team. So we have the Tech LR Hercule as well. This guy's super old school, but with his EZA, he's nothing too crazy, but when it comes to EZAs, especially this one, like a lot of the EZA events, if they are with some of these lesser filled out categories, they are a little bit on the easier side. So Hercule should be fine. I mean, maybe, stage 30, if he's taking a super, he might take a lot of damage, but he should be pretty decent. Obviously, a lot of his passive, he has a great chance of getting 7 key and 77% attack, which if he doesn't get, depending on who's on the team with him and if there's any support, he might not even be able to get an 18 key super. But at the end of the day, with the limited roster that Earthlings has, he's another unit that you could throw on who could be relatively useful. Then we have the Tech LR Oob, who's one of the Battlefield LRs with his EZA. He can be very good. He can hit pretty hard. The more HP you have, the higher the stats he has. He also does support all allies. And if you drop to 50% or less HP, so if you are struggling a little bit with the later stages, if your Earthlings team isn't as good as you might like it to be, if you start the turn at 50% or less HP, he does fuse with Mr. Boo into Marjube, and of course gives you a big heal. So that can be very useful, as we've already said, as you can't use items in EZAs. So he definitely can be a useful unit to bring on the team as well. Then we have the STR Krillin. He was the banner unit from the 23rd World Tournament Goku. He supports World Tournament allies, which there are some Earthlings that we could run, like Jackie Chun's and stuff who are on there. But he's just a really solid tank, gets extra damage reduction before attacking, as well as extra damage reduction against one enemy. So obviously he can be a unit that you just put in slot 1 and can soak up hits. So he could certainly be very, very good on this team to be one of your main defensive units. And he links relatively well with some of these other links. Like with Infighter. Obviously, Dragon Ball Saga characters, Incredible Adventure Guide into the Dragon Balls are going to be very relevant links. So this guy, definitely a top choice for being a slot 1 defensive unit. Then we have the AGL RP Gang. Like I say, with only extreme AGL characters will be able to deal damage. But these guys, they can hit relatively hard, got relatively good defense. They've obviously got type advantage in this particular event. Depending on the number of orbs or the type of orbs you get, they can get different varying levels of support, as well as an additional super if you get 7 orbs. So on a team with other Dragon Ball Saga characters to help with their links, because we're not really running any other extreme characters, so links like Brutal Beatdown, Thirst for Conquest, not really going to be in play very much. But links like Incredible Adventure Guide into the Dragon Balls, they have Brainiacs, which some of the Bulmer units have as well. So they can fit very nicely on the team whilst still being able to do some relatively good damage. Then we have the AGL Mamba as well, technically an Earthling. Also a Peppy Gals character, so works with some of the other Videll units and stuff. She can hit relatively hard. She debuffs the enemy when there's other Peppy Gals allies on the team, or an STR type enemy, which there is, but you can't debuff in an EZA past a certain stage anyway. But she does support all allies for 40% attack, which is nice. Yeah, if the enemy has to be attack down or defense down for her to get the guaranteed crit. So, I mean, she's not a perfect unit for this for sure, but is another honourable mention for the team, I guess, as one of the few extreme characters that can do some decent damage in this stage. We also have the AGL Ma. I thought I'd mention the AGL one over the other ones because this one supports all allies, has built-in crit chance, has a scouter effect if you're at 50% or less HP, greatly raises attack and defense on super. In fact, if we look at like the other Mais, you've got like the STR1 is a super class support unit who can also be pretty good, but she relies on getting additional supers in order to get that damage reduction and to be strong defensively. And obviously is type neutral to this particular Videll stage. There's the INT Ma as well, but she's more themed around supporting time travelers. We didn't really talk about the LR Jackie Chun because we did mention quite a few Dragon Ball Saga characters in the end, and he does have those Dragon Ball Saga links as well as like Brainiacs, Shattering the Limit legendary power. There's a lot of free-to-play LRs on this team. This guy, like when he hits an enemy with his 18 key super, he then has 50% damage reduction against that enemy, so he could be really good on the team as well. So you can see Earthlings, like we're a bit limited. I guess the LRTN actually could be useful. I mean, we could have just mentioned all the LRs pretty much apart from Tau. Didn't really mention the other physical ones because of course they have type disadvantage. And then when it comes to the TURs, we've got like the Super Strike TN. There's the AGL Bulmer, but she's the banner unit for Roshi, so you're probably not going to have her, right, if you're not summoning on the banner. Some of the other units, we've got like Yajirobe, decent free-to-play unit. The Videll is a Dragon Ball Seekers support, which applies to a lot of the Dragon Ball Saga characters. Of course, that's another differently named Videll you could use instead of the INT one if you do have her. You've got the Tech free-to-play Bulmer or the INT one if you don't have the LR. The INT Hercule with his EZA is a pretty good defensive unit as well. And then everyone else, I mean, we got this Videll got her EZA. There's a couple of Videll options that are not bad. And then, yeah, we didn't really go over many of the physical units. I mean, Launch could be okay because she does multiple supers which raise her defense and can get crits. So she could still do decent damage against Videll despite the type disadvantage. But there you go. As you can see, Earthlings definitely a much more restrictive category than the other two that we've talked about for these EZA guides. But should be fairly straightforward. This one's not super difficult in terms of the overall difficulty of the EZA. And there are some solid units on here that will pretty much carry the team and be able to do damage. Pretty much one turning, I would imagine, for at least the first half of the event. It's just unfortunate that it is yet another 30-stage EZA, which takes a lot longer to complete. And of course, for Global, as I say, we have 3 Extreme Z battles all coming out at the same time. So very time-consuming to be getting all of these done, getting the units EZA'd. But of course, we will be doing all of that tomorrow. I'll try and get the showcases out for the units with their EZAs as quickly as possible. But yeah, that is going to be it for the guide. So like I say, if there are any units you think I missed out or I should have talked more about, why they would be good for this Extreme Z battle, do let me know down below in the comment section. And let me know what your team build is going to look like for this EZA down below as well. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.